buddy, you're not supposed to be in here this late. I don't know who you are. You have to come back during business hours.
That either.
And it's all because of me that we're here now. Hungry and cold and hunted. Just want to apologize to Mike's mom and Josh's mom and my mom.
Tell me where you are, John!
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Happy Friday. Another great looking weekend for all of you, I hope. I am John Royslin, the host of the Witching Hour podcast. With me tonight, I'm actually kind of shaking right now, and I actually have chills. I am beyond thrilled to be hosting this very special episode. I have an exclusive for everyone tonight. I am joined by two very esteemed, well, all right, I'll give PJ credit. Three very esteemed people here in the film industry. To my immediate right, I have Mr. Gregg Hale. Gregg from obviously from producing the Blair Witch Project, as well as producing other great films and directing. To his that'll be his right, my left bottom corner, I have Mr. Mathew Ulm. Mathew is the festival director of Victory International Film Festival. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And of course, returning, as I so subtly called him earlier, my Southern Belle, good friend, filmmaker, Mr. P.J.Starks, with his latest film, New Fear's Eve, which we are all in great anticipation of. Gentlemen, thank you for taking the time. I sincerely appreciate this. Welcome to the Witching Hour. Here we go. I'm not quite sure where to actually start. Mathew, I'm going to start with you. We have a giant event coming up next weekend, September 12th through
The 14th. Yep, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the 12th through the 14th.
In Evansville, Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you go ahead? I know this is the 5th year running. Why don't you go ahead and give us a little background as to the events and why Victory International Film Festival?
Certainly. Well, actually, Gregg and I originally met at the Alhambra Theater Film Festival, which was the precursor for the Victory. The Alhambra being a historic theater downtown, and it was there to help raise awareness and raise funds to help restore it. And that ended. So a couple years later, we decided we were going to start up the Victory International Film Festival, which is another historic theater, an old gem of a 2,000-seat old movie house, vaudeville house that we have here. So we started that in 2019, and we're, like you said, into our 5th year. We are going to have our opening night on Thursday, the 12th, here in Evansville at Showplace Cinemas East, which is our local movie chain. And that'll be a 1-hour red carpet, followed by a 2-hour selection of our favorite shorts, and then an after party there at the bar at Showplace, which I love the fact that cinemas have bars now. How awesome is that? And then, of course, on Friday, one of the reasons why we're here is because we're going to come back and we're going to do a 25th anniversary screening of the Blair Witch Project. Yeah, which will happen at 7 p.m., which will be followed by a Q&A with Mr. Gregg Hale, and that's going to be moderated by Ted Haycraft. And Ted is a local film guru that we have, and so he's very well known by running Cinema Chat with Ted Haycraft. You guys would probably get along very well because he's has an encyclopedic knowledge of film.
Oh,
and
nice.
Yeah. And then on Saturday, the 14th, we're going to be downtown on Main Street. We've got 3 different screening locations, and we're going to have 65 different films from 20 different countries that we're going to show on that day. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a whirlwind. We'll be there from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., have our award show at 8, and then another after party at our Academy, which is one of our local arcade bars, which you play some free video games, you have a few beers, and you just chill and talk movies. It's going to be awesome.
Sounds like a great time. I'm sorry I physically will not be there for that.
2025.
Yeah, mark my words. I'll be on the red carpet. The guy with the microphone. I will announce everybody for you.
Awesome.
Awesome. Gregg, thank you so much. Obviously, congratulations. 25 years of the Blair Witch Project. 25 years, man. That's wow.
Yeah, it's
That's
crazy.
kind of hard to believe.
Yes, tell me about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
hard to believe. Super cool that people still care about the film. That there's interest in watching the film and having screenings like the one that we're having at the Victory. It feels nice to have people, still care about the film.
Did you ever, when the film was first being created and filmed and so forth, did you ever think that it would have such an impact on the horror community?
No, no, no. I mean, I've said this many times. We were, kind of shocked or surprised, pleasantly surprised, blown away, at basically every stage of Blair Witch. We were kind of amazed that we actually made it. We were amazed that we finished it, we shot it. We're amazed that we that we got it edited. The crazy stuff started, getting accepted into Sundance. Unbelievable. Couldn't believe that we sold it. Couldn't believe that, we were in Cannes, we got an award at Cannes. And then, the reception of the film and the kind of the phenomenon that the film turned into was, absolutely the most unexpected thing ever. So no, I never, ever anticipate. I think the thing that we were hopeful for when we were making the film, we were hoping that we could, finish it and then, sell it probably to, a cable network, right?
Sure.
We weren't even thinking theatrical release at that time. We were really just hoping sell it and do well enough that we could make another movie.
Right.
Was all time.
And I mean, the film itself was groundbreaking because I remember when it first came out, it scared the shit out of everybody. Absolutely drove them nuts. But it also introduced this new way of filming a movie called found footage, which has blown up into its own subgenre, if you will. So many people were almost confused by the film in the sense that they were not familiar with anything like that.
Yeah.
It was definitely something new. And along those lines, the chaos that grew within the film, it just utterly scared people to death. It truly did. So with that being said, to you personally, congratulations, job well done.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think the people, especially people who saw it early, really probably lost their minds, even early in the theatrical release. At a certain point, the film became so overblown that it was inevitably going to have backlash. And at a certain point, when we were really wide and playing in just like, every multiplex, that there was, I think that's when kind of the hate started because it wasn't a typical horror film, and a lot of people were not down for that. But I think at the beginning, the people that were, seeking it out at the beginning had a very good horror experience.
Oh yeah, and it was definitely something that you had to, especially once it was available on at that time still I believe VHS. It was something that you really had to rewatch a couple times because it was one of those things where you had to get the end of that movie re-seen a couple times because everything kind of happened quickly with the moving of a camera. Everybody was taking in their own views of it.
Yeah.
But a phenomenal film. I'm from Maryland myself, actually, in the Eastern Shore, right alongside the Chesapeake Bay. I did some research, and my wife and friends of ours a couple years ago, we were actually going to take a trip over there, go do a little Blair Witch sightseeing until you actually go to the town's website. And they actually had at that time a disclaimer letting you know any visitors of the film that took place here, the townspeople really did not take too kindly to tourists coming through and sightseeing.
Yeah. When was that? When was that?
I'm sorry.
When was that?
I want to say probably about 6 years back.
Yeah. That, I mean, look, and I don't blame them. Burkittsville, that was the real town that we shot in.
Hmm.
You never thought that the film was going to do what it did, and poor Burkittsville, like really initially, like really kind of paid a heavy price, and they did not like us very much. But now the new mayor of Burkittsville is actually a Blair Witch fan, and
Perfect.
he wants to like promote it. And they've been doing now a super fan named Matt Blasey, who actually wrote a book about Blair Witch called 8 Days in the Woods. He's been doing the Blair Witch experience for years now, and it just gets bigger every year. And that's like a screening of the film and going to all the different locations. And now Burkittsville totally embraces that. So very, very different. You know, obviously 25 years will help ease over the thing of getting.
You would hope, definitely. Well, maybe now I'll feel a little safer in driving out there and taking some pictures and checking it out. PJ, my deepest apologies. You're sitting there so calmly, so quietly, so patiently.
I'm just here for the ride. So
So unlike him.
Now, PJ, you also, of course, are involved in the festival. Your newest film, New Fear's Eve, is going to be shown throughout the weekend, correct?
yeah, it screens on Saturday at 1:15 at the WNIN building.
Okay. And
And it is nowhere near as good as the Blair Witch Project, but one can hope, depending on who watches it. Or it's at least not as near as groundbreaking. I'll say that for sure.
well, it is definitely it is highly anticipated by this guy, at least. I've been talking to you for a long time about this film and watching it progress, and I'm very anxious to see the film. And if you had gotten in touch with me prior to this past Monday, maybe I could have actually come out there and we could have shared a bucket of popcorn. We could have watched it together.
Well, thanks for rubbing that in my face and making me feel bad.
I'm just,
but it's fine. It's fine. I'll be okay.
It's a Friday. It's after work. We're here to just, let loose and make fun of each other, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
You just wait. You got to sleep sometime.
But I mean, you kind of bring up an interesting point, John, and just the legacy. I was thinking about that the other day. It's like you think of like Clerks and Kevin Smith. He kind of cracked the door open on independent filmmaking, and that's when people saw that you could do things low budget and make a lot of money. But Blair Witch was the one that kicked the door wide open. Right. I mean, the amount of buzz that they got and the amount that you guys made at the theaters was just tremendous. And I think people like filmmakers like PJ, that was when he was kind of cutting his teeth as a young man and saw that you can go out and shoot things. And so there's a tremendous legacy to the film in all facets of the industry that I think is just awesome.
Well, yeah, I completely agree with, sorry, didn't want to, but I agree with everything Matt just said. It's funny because when you're an independent filmmaker, there's a certain set of films, especially now, that come to mind because everybody makes comments that's like, I'm chasing Halloween, I'm chasing Blair Witch, I'm chasing Clerks. Now I hear I'm chasing Terrifier 2, because there's always these, and it's not a huge list, but there is that list for independent filmmakers like me, where it's like, we're really hoping to capture that moment where we make the film that ultimately, transcends pop culture. And, at least when you make a movie, you just want it, like what Gregg was saying, you hope to get it out there in some form or fashion to be seen, but to find that film that, like I said a second ago, that really impacts, so where you see something and it immediately, like when people see The Woods, they immediately think Blair Witch. I have this conversation with Jeffrey all the time. When people when they see a log truck, Final Destination.
Sure.
There's these things that when that these people have created something that has really resonated, I would say, with not just filmmakers but audiences in general. And of course, I'm still on that path. I mean, I may never make that film that does that, but at the same time, it's like being in situations like this to where I even have access or have conversations with people like Gregg. It's just when I first started making films, never thought I would be in that position. You're not really sure what that journey, where it's going to take you. So even now, like, this is just kind of a surreal thing. And hopefully New Year's Eve is the next Blair Witch Project, but we'll see what happens.
Well, from what it's worth, my friend, I'm very proud of you. You know, your film is in an international film festival. And I mean,
oh, absolutely. And that's the thing, like, we're really excited about. And well, unfortunately, Eirc and I can't be there at the screening. A, because we're dicks, and two, because we actually have another event that we had already said yes, we would be there. I know, but we have some cast members that are going to be there to represent the film.
Nice.
And of course, it's been nominated for Best Feature, which I'm sure that will go to Jacob Belinsky's Compression. But whatever.
Well, all right, so Mathew, I have a
Matt's laughing because he's like, yeah, that's the truth.
Mathew, if you don't mind, I do have a question for you. I am knocking all my shit over. I've been to a couple horror film festivals, and I know Victory is a wide range of film. At a horror convention, or excuse me, at a horror film festival, you're going to get whatever's going to be thrown in front of you, no matter how lighthearted or extreme horror it might be. How is the screening process? Well, a screening process for what you guys will and will not maybe accept, as far as this is too much. We don't want to be promoting something maybe this extreme, this graphic.
Mm-hmm.
And then the process of, if you guys get 5,000 submissions, how do you narrow that process down?
So I appreciate you asking that. We actually have a number of judges that sit on our panels. And so when we started this, I wanted it to be a community film festival. So I didn't want to just necessarily have people that were just cinephiles as a part of it. I just wanted people from the community, because I wanted them to be able to have their say in and be able to introduce films to their neighbors, because I know what films that I like, and I know the people that I hang out with, what films that they like. But the idea of this was to expose people to different types of things, because Evansville has a number of filmmakers that are working locally, but it's not a really big film town. I always joke that when we started this in 2019 and I would tell people I was having a film festival, predominantly people just go, "What's that?" Right. And my mind just about blew, because I was just like, have you never heard of Sundance? Have you never heard of Cannes, Vancouver, or any of these places? And so I just kind of looked at them and I was like, well, if I told you I was going to have a hot dog festival, what would you expect to be there? And they were like, hot dogs. And I was like, there you go. So when we do this, all of our judges go through, they use Film Freeway's interface, which is what we use for submissions, and it's rated on 10 different items, production, audio quality, directing, audio plot, all those different facets. And they give it a 0 to 10 rating. They mark any warnings for violence, nudity, anything that might happen there. But to be honest with you, I don't really narrow the focus of the festival. I figured that as we matured, it might find a focus, but to be honest, people just like a cornucopia of things. And it's one of the things I appreciate about film festivals is that, especially if you're talking about shorts, you can go and you can see, sometimes 12 shorts in an hour at a film festival, and you get exposed to a lot of different artwork that way. So unless there was one that I will say an example called Docking that was submitted in our first festival. And I'm such a Catholic that I had no idea what I was expecting. And it was just 3 minutes of two penises coming together, CG through space. And at the end, the foreskin rolled over the other one. And I was just like,
PJ, was that your side project you were telling me about?
Yeah, that is actually my birth video.
Yeah. Well, and I, to be honest with you, it was very good CG, but I was just like, to me, this is very pointless. So I did not allow that one. But otherwise,
hey, can you send that to me, and then I'll let you. I'll give you a second opinion.
Why don't you and Eirc just recreate it later tonight?
Hey,
Well, because
it is a
Eirc knows I
Friday.
don't like little penises.
Yeah. So again, it kind of ebbs and flows, just depends on what we get. And I don't want to be real. Um, I don't want to cut people out because even those things that I might find objectionable, if it's
Like
created
foreskin.
well and with good intention, it challenges my own conceptions as a person, as a Christian, as a person roaming this earth. And that's what I think good art should do. You might not like it, but it should expose you to something different. And that's what
Sure.
I want for the festival.
Now, are you from Indiana
I am.
presently?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm from Terre Haute, which is a couple hours north of here, but I've been in Evansville for 23 years at this point.
Okay. That answered my next question of why Evansville, Indiana. And
Yes.
how far off, after 5 years now, obviously your name has gotten out there
Mhm.
and the film festival has gotten larger and larger. Are you starting to notice like license plates on cars and like, wow, that guy came from Nevada. Hey, that guy's actually from New York.
From the first year, we've been very lucky, at least with filmmakers traveling in.
Right.
I would still say we're a regional film festival as far as our attendees,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine, again, because it's supposed to be a community film festival. And that's the mission of our 501c3 and the festival, is to expose our neighbors to different types of artwork. But I think the first year we had 40 filmmakers, and they were from all over the United States, California to New York, Texas to Michigan. So I think we're somewhat blessed. We're in a flyover state, but we're also very centrally located. And
Yes.
I think that a lot of people, one of the gratifying things to me about that first year was a lot of people walked away saying, Evansville is a pretty cool town. I could see shooting here. And that was extremely gratifying to have people come in and to recognize the community for what it was or what it is.
Right. So now, Greg, you are going to be doing a Q&A after the showing of the Blair Witch Project, correct?
Right. Yep. A Q&A after the film and then a panel on Saturday, right, Matt?
Yes.
And is it just okay? So it will be just you. My apologies. How long does something like that usually last? I mean, if you've got, I mean, because that's a big event. If you've got a room full of people and you got hands flying everywhere with questions, how long before you start to say, all right, all right, we got the other film and that guy's question is probably stupid anyway. That guy in the back, I'm just I'm just trying to figure out how you would judge something like that, because honestly, if you bring in a huge following of the film of diehard Blair Witch Project fans, that could go on for hours.
Yeah, and I don't. I mean, and I'd never get tired of talking about it. So
Right.
it'd be up to Mathew to cut it.
Yeah, I think we'll probably let him and Ted and the people in the audience go about as long as they want, because I think the screening ends at 8:30. And of course it's a movieplex, so it stays open late, and they're not planning on having anything else in there the rest of the evening. But
Okay.
I think that having him there to answer questions about Blair Witch obviously is going to be awesome. And then the Saturday, I'm hoping to hear more about, his new book and the other projects that he's done. He's had a career since Blair Witch. And
Very
so
true.
I'm excited to have Ted back on Saturday to talk to him about that as well.
Awesome. And Greg, what future projects are you presently working on, sir?
Well, me and Ed Sanchez, one of the co-directors of Blair, are still partners. We've been business partners now, creative partners now for 28 years. And Ed and I have said for a long time that our goal with the industry is to stay in the ring and keep throwing punches. So Ed directs a lot of television. The last couple of years for me has been working on a completely different kind of project called Emerald Amble, which is a multi-platform fantasy story world about homicidal fairies, basically. But we're always pitching stuff and developing ideas. We're producing a horror film, actually shooting in Denmark next month. But pitching TV shows, pitching features, just trying to stay out there and keep our hat in the ring for projects. So always multiple things going at the same time.
That makes sense. Makes sense. I want to apologize, and I don't know how this is happening. I actually just got a pop-up on my screen, unless anybody actually has a timer on theirs through Zoom.
Yes, there's 8:45 left.
8:45. Okay, perfect. Because they popped one up on me. It says to extend your time, whip out your credit card, and it used to come with a timer. And like I said, Zoom has really been screwing the guy hosting the show, because if not, I would be in the middle of saying something and we'd all just disappear. So I appreciate that. So you want
me to give you a 2-minute warning when we get there?
If you wouldn't mind, that would be absolutely perfect. I thank you, and I apologize for that.
No problem.
PJ, you are being much too quiet this evening. I've talked to you too many times to know that you are this quiet of a man.
Well, I'm trying to give others, the platform to talk, and I'm just taking it all in.
That's what I'm not used to. Okay, that's what it is. Now, last time, you guys, I spoke with PJ on an interview. It was with you and with Eirc, and of course, for whatever purpose and whatever reason, not purpose, but whatever reason, I just completely butchered his last name. I was Huskins.
Everybody does.
Hutchin. Right. And
it's Huskisson.
And I am sorry that he was not able to make it at last minute. But it would have been nice to talk to him again, because the two of you together are a
little more animated.
A lot more animated.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think the last time we did an interview, we were crowdfunding for New Year's Eve.
Yes, you were.
I believe.
Yes.
And now the film is finished and will be screening at the Victory International Film Festival Saturday at 1:15.
And speaking of which, I have not seen any of the new posters or DVD covers, artwork that came out that had my face anywhere in the background. And I swore you had mentioned something along those lines. No?
That was probably Eirc. I think you talked to Eirc about that. He's the liar. So he's the one who makes stuff up. And I apologize.
No.
For that.
Maybe next film, no, maybe. Yes, definitely. Yeah.
100%.
100%.
For New Year's Eve too, that, if Gregg wants to help produce it, that's sure. That would be great.
I think you should come out with like a special edition popcorn bowl with just John's head.
No, wait, no. I do know. No, I wouldn't trust my face in a popcorn bucket getting buttered by PJ on any day of the week. No, sir.
One man wants me to butter their face. I keep getting turned down. But I think a popcorn bucket actually could work. What's funny, so I wrote a part for 1031 Part 2, and I can't remember if it even got used. I think it got taken out. And then I think there's a part in either Terrifier 2 or maybe in the third one that's coming out. But I had this part where someone's head got cut off, and then the top of the head was cut off, and the brain was scooped out, and they were using that head to pass.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
So I got a question for Gregg, kind of along those same lines. Oh, you back, PJ?
Somebody, my fiance called, even though I texted her right before this and said, "Hey, I'm going to be in a podcast."
Oh, and there we go.
Yeah.
Just calling back.
Yeah. Well, I'm just kind of wondering, Gregg's been doing this for a long time. I just wondered, if he's got a story from a con of like the most interesting question he's been asked, or if somebody is like made like a Blair Witch that he's given him like any weird like stories with fans that I'd be interested to hear what his weirdest fan experience might have been over the past quarter century.
Wow. I honestly, I can't really think of any, definitely nothing negative, and really nothing that I would consider weird. I mean, a lot of times, especially like, if it's specifically horror festivals, I love how weird some horror fans are, so I think you run into a pretty robust cross section of people at horror film festivals. Um, I can't think of anything overly weird, and I can definitely not think of anything negative. I've just really, I love, film festivals in general. I especially love horror stuff. I do love doing Q&As. Oh, it's been a long time. Like, we did a screening at the 20th anniversary, here in Portland, and that's the first time that I had seen the movie in 19 years.
Wow.
It's been a while. I will say, like, just since this is a horror podcast, the most exciting thing right now that's going for the 25th anniversary is there's a British company called Second Sight Films.
Mhm.
They do kind of like high-end box sets. Unfortunately, only for region 2 or whatever it is for Europe, so you'd have to buy an all-region player. But they're doing a 25th anniversary release of Blair Witch Project with a whole new transfer of both the film and the video. So
Oh,
it's
nice.
because the film that everybody, if you're watching it, on a streamer or if you're watching it off DVD or whatever, that's video transferred to, at the time, that was the highest format videotape, which was Beta SP, which is still, it's a standard def. So that's digital to standard def video to film transfer, and then that film transfer back to video for DVD and VHS release. So you're really, what, 3 generations away from how the film is really supposed to look. And Second Sight went back. We actually had the original 16 millimeter negative and all the original high 8 tapes up in my attic, actually. And when they contacted us about the release, they're like, "Look, we'll pay to do a new transfer." And then they used an AI to crawl through the edit and find all the footage and reassemble the edit. So it'll be a brand new, visually brand new. The sound mix is going to be the same, but a completely brand new visual transfer of the entire film. That's the most exciting thing that's going on relative to specifically the 25th anniversary.
Well, that'll definitely sell like hotcakes for those collectors out there. I'll tell you, it really will.
Yeah, that's
Have you seen the new transfer?
excuse me. Do what?
Have you seen the new transfer?
Yeah. It's
So
it's completely, especially the video, because the video is really direct from the high 8 tapes because that's a digital format. So it looks exactly like it looks off of the original tapes.
that's
It's
awesome.
very, very, very different looking.
Now you're going to get these Blair Witch fans that are like, "Oh, now it's just Hollywood. Now it looks too good."
People, I've heard that people are like, "Oh, it's going to look too good." I don't know. We'll see. I think it looks cool, but we'll see.
Gentlemen, I don't want to cut any of us short. I honestly could sit here and listen to you guys talk all night long. I want to thank all of you. Real quickly though, boys and girls, this coming weekend in Evansville, excuse me, Indiana, Victory International Film Festival. Find a way to get out there. I've seen the ticket prices. Very, very reasonable. I hope it's a huge success. Mr. Gregg Hale will be there doing a Q&A. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me. P.J.Starks with New Fears Eve. Best of luck with the film, my friend.
Thank you so much.
I'm very proud of you, sir. And I live vicariously through all of you within the industry. If you ever want to come back and talk, I would love to have all of you at any given point.